He walked into the kingdom of the dead while still alive. The gods of the underworld wept when they heard him play. They gave him back what he came for. Then he looked. Hey, I'm Raven from Gravetide Studios. What stops me about Orpheus isn't the music or the myth. It's the moment at the end of the tunnel. One step from daylight, his wife alive and following behind him, and he turns around. Every version of the story says the same thing. He knew the rule. He just couldn't hold his nerve. And I think about that a lot. Not as a failure of love, as the most human thing in any story I've ever read. This episode is about Orpheus, but it's really about what people build out of grief when there's nothing left to hope for. In the oldest tellings, Orpheus was not fully mortal. His mother was Calliope, the muse of epic poetry, one of the 9 daughters of Zeus. His father, in most accounts, was the god Apollo himself. From the moment of his birth, Orpheus existed at the threshold between the human world and the divine. He was given a lyre, Apollo's instrument, and what he did with it was unlike anything the ancient world had words for. When Orpheus played, rivers stopped moving. Trees uprooted themselves and walked toward the sound. Wild animals lay down beside each other and were still. The rocks on the hillsides leaned in to listen. Even the gods on Olympus paused. This was not metaphor. In the ancient world, it was simply true. Orpheus had a gift that did not belong to the human register. He joined the Argonauts, the crew assembled by Jason to find the Golden Fleece. When their ship passed the Sirens, whose song drove the sailors mad, Orpheus played louder. His music drowned theirs out. The crew survived. He returned from that voyage and found Eurydice. Her name means something close to wide justice in ancient Greek. She was a nymph, a spirit of the natural world. Some sources call her a daughter of Apollo, which would make her and Orpheus half-siblings in a tradition where divine parentage made such things complicated and unremarkable. What the record says clearly, they loved each other, and they married. The records do not say how long they had. On the day of their wedding, or shortly after, depending on the telling, Eurydice was walking in a meadow. A man named Eurystheus, a minor god of beekeeping and pastoral life, saw her and pursued her. While running from him, she stepped on a serpent hidden in the grass. The bite killed her. She descended to the underworld, to the realm of Hades and Persephone, beneath the earth, beyond the river Styx. Orpheus could not accept it. He had no framework for this, no ritual, no precedent. He simply refused. What he did next had never been done by a living mortal in the Greek tradition. He went after her, not in a dream, not in a vision. He found one of the physical entrances to the underworld, the cave Aptenerum, on the southern tip of the Peloponnese, and he walked in. He crossed the river Styx. Charon, the ferryman who transported the souls of the dead, let him pass. Some accounts say Orpheus simply played, and Charon could not refuse. Others say Charon wept. He passed Cerberus, the three-headed dog who guarded the gates, who let every soul enter but none leave. Cerberus lay down. He moved through the fields of the dead, past the souls of those who had not yet been judged, past the Elysian fields, where the heroic dead were at rest. The Furies, the ancient goddesses of vengeance, whose faces no mortal could look upon without going mad, stopped what they were doing. For the first time in any recorded account, the Furies wept. He stood before Hades and Persephone, the king and the queen of the dead, and he played. What he played is not recorded. No ancient source preserves the actual song. What is recorded is what it did. Hades wept. In every version of the myth, the god of the dead, impassive, absolute, incorruptible, wept. Persephone wept. The souls of the dead, ordinarily past the reach of emotion, wept. Orpheus asked for Eurydice back. Not forever. He understood death. He asked only for the years she had not yet lived, the life that had been taken from her too soon. Hades agreed. The condition was a single rule. Orpheus would lead Eurydice out of the underworld. She would follow behind him. He must not look back, not until both of them had crossed into the world of the living. If he looked back before that moment, she would return to the dead permanently. He walked. She followed. The tunnel rising from the underworld, the world of the living somewhere ahead in the dark. We do not know how long it took. The sources do not say. What they say is that he walked the whole ascent without looking back, until the last moment. He was almost out. Some accounts say he had already crossed the threshold and was waiting for her to emerge behind him. Others say he was one step from the exit when he turned. He turned, and he saw her. She was there. She was real. She was looking at him. And then she was gone. No drama in the ancient accounts. No sound. Eurydice simply dissolved back into the dark, pulled back into death, receding from him as quickly as she had appeared. She said one word in Ovid's telling: farewell. Orpheus stood at the entrance to the underworld and tried to go back in. Charon refused him. He could not cross the river again. He sat at the river bank for 7 days, unable to eat, unable to move, playing. No one came. the river did not answer. He returned to the world of the living, but not to the life he had left. Something had changed that would not change back. Orpheus withdrew from human company. He moved through Thrace, the region of northern Greece associated with his birth, alone, playing music that now carried a different weight. He would not take another companion. He refused the women of Thrace who sought him out. Whether this was grief, or devotion to Eurydice's memory, or something else entirely, the sources disagree. What the sources agree on is what it cost him. The women of Thrace, the Maenads, followers of Dionysus, grew enraged by his rejection. In some accounts, they had been inflamed by Dionysus himself, who resented Orpheus for his devotion to Apollo. In others, the rage was entirely their own. They attacked him, and they killed him. His body was torn apart. His lyre was thrown into the river Hebrus. His head was thrown into. According to the accounts, it kept singing as it floated downstream, out to sea, eventually coming to rest on the island of Lesbos. Where it sang, the earth was said to be particularly fertile. Oracles grew there. Even in death, his voice would not stop. Orpheus was dead. What he left behind became something that lasted 2,000 years. Not a legend only, a religion. The Orphic tradition, a religious movement that grew across the Greek world and eventually influenced early Christianity and Neoplatonism, was built entirely on the story of what he had done and what it meant. The Orphics believed that the soul was divine and imprisoned in the body. That death was not the end, but a passage. And that the right knowledge, the right preparation, the right ritual could change what happened to you after you died. That made him not just a musician or a hero, it made him a prophet. They believed Orpheus had gone further than any mortal. He had seen what was on the other side and come back with the knowledge of it. The Orphic texts, some of the oldest religious documents in the Greek tradition, describe the underworld in detail. The rivers, the judges, the fields. The choice the soul faces at the river Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. Drink from it and return to the cycle of rebirth, or find the other pool and remember who you are. Gold tablets buried with the dead across the Greek world have been found by archaeologists, thin sheets inscribed with Orphic instructions for navigating the afterlife. The dead were literally given a map. Orpheus was on it. The ancient world did not read the story of Orpheus the way we do. We read it as a love story with a tragic ending. The ancient world read it as a theological document. The question the myth was asking was not, why did he look back? The question it was asking was, what does it mean that he got that far at all? A mortal entered the underworld alive. He moved the gods of death with music. He was given back what death takes. And the condition was only this: trust that it is happening, even when you cannot see it. He had walked the whole ascent. He had almost made it. He could not hold that trust. And the Orphic tradition spent centuries working out what that meant for every human soul facing the same impossible problem. How to move through darkness towards something you believe is there but cannot verify. That was the question Orpheus left behind. The look back is not a failure of love. It is the human condition rendered in a single gesture. Every version agrees on that. Every version of the story says he knew the rule. He knew exactly what would happen if he turned. He turned anyway. His story did not stay inside the Greek world. It moved. It changed shape. It crossed into philosophy, into religion, into art. And it never really stopped. Orphic ideas about the soul, about death, about divine imprisonment in the body. These fed directly into Platonic philosophy. Plato's arguments about the immortal soul, about the body as a kind of tomb, carry Orphic fingerprints throughout. When early Christianity spread across the Roman world, it moved through communities already shaped by Orphic belief. The image was already there, waiting. Images of Orpheus, the figure with a lyre who charmed the animals, who descended and returned, appeared in early Christian art, fused with images of Christ as a good shepherd. The early church absorbed the image before it had language to replace it. Dante placed Orpheus in limbo, among the virtuous pagans, the honorable dead who could not enter heaven because they had not been baptized. Not punished, simply waiting, in a place of muted grief, at the edge of something they could not quite reach. The same position Orpheus had always occupied. Almost, not quite. The door always one moment away. That was where Orpheus had always lived, on the wrong side of the threshold. His lyre became a constellation. The Greeks placed it in the sky as Lyra, still visible from the northern hemisphere on clear summer nights, close to the bright star Vega. Eurydice has no constellation. She went back into the dark, and Orpheus played on, suspended between the world of the living and the world of the dead, which was the only place he had ever really belonged. That's the record as we have it. Thanks for being here. This is Raven from Gravetide, and I'll see you on the next one.